All right, welcome to round number 3. Hopefully we will not lose all these islands to a boil this time, but you never know. I would be surprised to get boiled back to back. I was already surprised to get boiled at all, but you never know. This hand on the draw, I like it. I like it. Got a remand to buy some time. I'm more comfortable with this hand on the draw than I would be on the play as well, considering we're a little land light. Not a huge deal. Looks like it could potentially be Storm. Basic Island. Sounds like Storm most of the time. Obviously, they could be the mirror. Could be a lot of stuff. Could be blue-white. But I'm going to shock here, and there's a couple reasons for that. If it's Storm, blue-white, or the mirror, I'm not really that worried about my life total. And if it is Storm, they could potentially play a Brawler and Electromancer on that turn, and I want to have Bolt up for it so that I could actually hold up Remand the following turn. And just be generally more mana efficient. Opponent plays another basic island, does nothing, which makes it less likely to be Storm. No cantrip for 2 turns, and just 2 basic islands. Not super likely to be Storm anymore. Much more likely to be some kind of control variant, possibly blue-white. We'll see. Could be taking turns, I suppose. Sure, there's like 10 other decks they could be that I haven't named yet, but I guess statistically speaking, my money is currently on blue-white, since I think Storm is kind of, at this point, unlikely. Off of like basic island serum visions, my money's usually on Storm, then blue-white. Basic island nothing, basic island nothing. I think Storm's more played than blue-white, but I don't think this would be a start from Storm. Although, if they are blue-white, they're certainly taking their sweet time, so maybe that makes them a little less likely to be blue-white. Otherwise, timeouts would be a real consideration. You typically can't spend too much time with other stuff. Manamo. Okay, so either the worst fish draw of all time or our opponent is taking turns. I'm going to go with taking turns, I guess. I think they play Manamo. Or this is the untapped target legendary permanent. Do they even play Manamo in that deck? I don't know. Who knows? I guess we'll see. Don't know why they would, actually. Yeah, all right. Taking turns. I guess we're going to remand this. It's going to be a weird matchup. Yeah, I guess we're going to remand this. If my opponent's going to resolve it, I would rather them resolve it on their own upkeep, which they elect to not do. Just going to bolt them here. All right. They didn't do it like at the end of our draw step or anything to avoid us playing a 4th land. Well, I'm going to cryptic it. It's really hard for my opponent's deck to function without it. It's possible they can go like untap 5th land, take an extra turn, upkeep 1, hope to hit a temporal mastery to win the game, but effectively. But that requires a lot to go right for my opponent. We're just going to counter draw this. So they're just going to slam 1 now. No. They don't want me to draw the extra card. All right, well, we don't have an Emrakul yet. So we have Remand and Click here. So I'll remand a dictate here. No, no dictate. All right, well, I'll click you. Remand my click. That resolves. Just want to leave that. They could cast a dictate while I fetch, but then I would get to draw the extra card first, and we're okay with that. I want to improve the power of opt by fetching first here. Now I get to leave this basic island on bottom for longer, unless I use this fetch land that we've just gained. So I'm actually going to use this fetch land. Taking that island out and shuffling is all the same, and then I can try to improve the power level of this opt, unless I assume I'm just never ever going to fetch with this, which seems unlikely here. We're probably going to be pretty mana hungry this game. I do have Snap Cryptic up now, so it's possible I'm not interested in clicking in the draw step. I think that's the case. Opponent probably has many more remands though, which makes Snap Cryptic not a very profitable line if my opponent still has remand available to them. So we will go with a click. Opponent opts to remand. No crappy pun intended. We're going to fetch in response just so that nothing weird happens here. Let that get remanded and then cast it again. I actually don't know why I'm aggressively... Okay, so they have their own snap remand. Aggressively getting islands here. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I guess it's just better on my life total anyway. And I have 2 red. It's not like I'm going to really need much more than that ever. Especially in a game 1. Alright, click has been remanded many times. We found an additional remand of our own. Ancestral Vision. Well, that's a great remand target. Opponent hits us with the snap. We're all fine with that. They usually have like 2 snaps in their deck. Click you. What you got over there? Time Warp, Mastery, Exhaustion. Well, Exhaustion's pretty bad against our instant speed deck, but it's pretty mana efficient. I think I still just take the Time Warp. I mean, I could just leave them with these. Without a Dictate or a Howling Mine, it's pretty hard for these to be relevant, but still, I think I'll take the Time Warp. Opt. Yeah. I was gonna snap opt, but I guess maybe I should have opt. If I knew I was hitting the Emrakul, it's possible I didn't want to take that. Now they could have a remand again. So it's possible I should have opted first, but then you could make the argument, well, I want to know what's in their hand before I opt. But maybe that's just extra incentive for clicking first and then not taking anything. Yeah, I was probably supposed to just not take anything, because then we just definitely win here. And now we had the potential of not winning. They draw Giga Drouse. Cryptic. Oh no. Oh, it's Cryptic. Okay. Don't know why they floated a mana here. So, yeah. Pretty bad sequencing. I guess not sequencing, just bad decision making by me. I should have just left them with those and said, look, I'm just trying to find an Emrakul. And those spells are clunky enough that my remands will get me there, and I kind of gave my opponent extra outs. Which is really not something I should have done. I guess Giga Drouse can't tap my Emrakul, so I don't know why I was worried about Giga Drouse. I mean, they wouldn't die that turn, but it would be irrelevant if we got Giga Droused. Cryptic can actually tap my Emrakul, though, of course, since it doesn't target it. But we had the remand for that one. All right, so I don't know how I feel about this Dispels. Apparently my opponent has Cryptics in their list. They also have remands. They also have Snap for like Spell Snare. Obviously Dispel doesn't do anything with Snap other than counter whatever they're targeting. I mean, I don't know how many Cryptics my opponent's really going to be playing, but he's also hit the remands. It's not like I'm bringing in much else. I probably want those. I don't know. I guess this also hits Howling Mine. Probably want that. These hit Howling Mine, but not Dictate. This hits Howling Mine, but not Dictate. Probably not super excited about any of that action. I could put in a Staticaster as a way to deal with snaps. Probably don't really want to do that either. And then I'm probably interested in cutting some number of bolts. My opponent could have like sideboard chalices. That's not unheard of for this archetype. Probably just off bolt entirely. I guess a Blood Moon is pretty bad. We should probably start there. They can have like Ink Moths. They usually have like 2 or so, and then they do have some utility lands. Sometimes the draw card one, Mikokoro, is pretty good in that deck. I don't think it's really worth having our Blood Moon in, though. Shave a couple of these Lightning Bolts. I don't feel like I'm ever tapping out for Architect of Thought. Like I said, I probably don't really want Bifrost and Explosives for Howling Mine. We'll just stick with trying to Spell Snare it, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I do want to Bifrost. Engineered Explosives, I think, is too costly for that job. My opponent may only have like 2 Howling Mines-ish. They might have 3. They might even have less. Would make Bifrost pretty ugly, but it might be better than like Dispel 3. Dispel number 3 might be worse than Bifrost. I guess we'll just keep it like this. And Spell Snare, of course, not only hits Howling Mine, but Snapcaster and Remand. Pretty happy with Spell Snare overall, so I don't think I would be shaving down on those. This hand is fine. I'm pretty happy to keep it against this kind of dirtily slow, almost version of our deck, really. Obviously, the end goal of the decks is pretty different, but we're both playing some questionable cards to facilitate a combo, so to speak. But yeah, I think we're similar, right, in that we're playing the kind of shell of Remand, Cryptic, Snapcaster to buy us time to do something perhaps a little more interesting, a little more powerful, rather than just trying to control the remainder of the game, like something like, you know, Blue Moon, for example, would be trying to do. Traditional Blue Moon lists, just trying to actually play a control role, especially historical versions that have had like Shackles and Batterskull and stuff like that, long before K-Command, of course, but K-Command certainly made those options much worse. K-Command, unfortunately, really does push some interesting artifacts out of the meta. I do want to find additional lands here, so I'm not going to fetch for this basic island. I would love to draw a basic island, so we're going to hold off until I need to. Remand, obviously good here. Well, this is kind of awkward, right? Because I kind of want to draw this other land, but Remand draws me a card too, so would rather not my opponent be productive here. So there's that land we're looking for. And I'm probably going to want to Remand this. Unless my opponent just like taps out, which is pretty unlikely. I'm also probably going to be interested in, I guess let's fetch now to make it more likely that our opponent like slams this Dictate here. No, they do not slam the Dictate. Get a basic island. I guess I don't know why, really. Maybe a second red source would be better, but without moons in my deck, I'm just like used to that behavior. I don't think I just want to go for Breach here. I can go for Breach in their end step, though, since they probably are only going to have Remand. They may have Cryptic available, though. And if they do have Cryptic, I don't want to do that, and I assume they will. So instead, I think I'm just going to play Control Roll this turn and assume I want to wait until to try to Breach until I have Dispel backup. Maybe even Breach EOT with Dispel backup, untap Breach with Dispel backup if it's like a Remand situation. So this turn cycle, we're just going to play the Control Roll and try to deal with these things. So we're going to Remand this. And then I'm probably going to Remand this with the spell backup. So opponent casts Ancestral. We fetch island, remand this. Opponent remands back, perhaps? No, that just happens. Okay. They're just not hitting their land drops here. Thought they would probably hit it by now, but... well, especially if we let this happen, right? They were going to hit it by now, but if we like let dictate resolve, let this resolve, they assumedly would have hit it. So now they just have 2 mana. I'm only blowing up 3 lands, but that's quite all right, I think, with this click backup. So I think that kind of, no pun intended, but dispels any concern that we may have had about doing this. So obviously this exchange is quite good for us. Our opponent loses their only 3 lands. They don't even get to draw a card off remand. And then we're going to be able to finish them off with this click after this Emrakul hits them. So that's it for round number 3, and I will see you in just a moment. Or, yeah, that was round 3. Yeah, see you in just a moment.